the most important thing about a diet, I wanted to start this video off with something I'm really passionate about. Now, I am a huge advocate for flexible dieting and if it fits your macros. I'm going to explain what those two terms are. Remember, the most important thing about a diet is sustainability. So how long are you able to stick to the plan? A calorie deficit, so eating less calories than you are expending. However you want to fluctuate it and design it is up to you, but ultimately a calorie deficit is required. Now there's many ways that you can go about that. You can try and implement restrictive rules where you take out certain food groups. These are kind of your most common diets out there because essentially they're just really easy to tell people, don't eat this, do eat that. But for me it just creates this really bad relationship with food because straight away you demonize particular types of food, whether it's bread, pasta, whether it's meat or whatever. There's a diet out there which will always say, do eat this, don't eat that. For me, I don't like that. For me, I just like to eat food. And for me, every food has a place, providing you're not intolerant or you have an allergy to those foods, because they're a little bit different. But generally, every food has a place. Cocoa Pops have a place in my diet. Sushi has a place in my diet. Nando's. Whatever it is, it has a place. And they're in there for particular reasons. But with the flexible dieting crowd, and if it fits your macros crowd, there sometimes is this general perception is that those people who follow that type of diet, and that type of diet is all about counting your macros and calories. So all the foods that are out there, chicken, broccoli, sweet potato, Pop-Tarts, pizza, all have a macronutrient breakdown. So that is how much protein, fats and carbohydrates are contained within that food. Each of those macronutrients have a calorie value. So therefore, by counting macros, you're inherently counting calories also. So it's essentially a game of knowing how much you're expending and eating a little bit less. Now the benefit is with if it fits your macros is allowing foods, whether they're clean or dirty, whatever they might be, they are allowed, and that's the great thing about it. However, some people take this far to an extreme and all they do is they focus on how much, junk food can they fit in their diet and still make progress. Now for me this causes a few problems because the first and foremost is that flexible dieting, if it fits your macros in the true respect, should be about designing a diet based with a good amount of protein. So protein that's ingested, whether it's in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 meals a day, a certain level. This could be from 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight up to about 3.1 for a weight training individual. So protein's pretty important to hit. So, go into good sources like your chicken, your salmon, your beef, good sources of protein. And then also, carbohydrates are in the diet to fuel performance. We all weight train. If you're passionate about going to the gym, carbohydrates are pretty important and pretty essential in order to have good performance. So make sure you're consuming enough carbohydrates. So this is your sweet potato, your rice, your pastas, your breads, those types of foods. And then you've got fats, and fats are great for satiety and also general hormone and health functions, along with providing good lubrication to meals and satisfaction. So your chocolates, your nut butters, your oils, dairy products are generally higher in fat. And obviously there's protein sources like salmon and beef which also have a fat content. So that's what a diet should pretty much, lots of single ingredient foods, lots of vegetables, fruits, protein sources, carbohydrates from whole grains, whatever it might be. And then there's that little bit of a room. So I normally say to my clients about 20% of their diet can come from fun, flexible foods. So this could be a Pop-Tart, for example, which is often spoke about in the fitness industry. It could be a little bit of chocolate. It could be a hot chocolate with whipped cream on and some marshmallows. That's one of my personal favorites at the moment. It could be a protein bar. It could be a crunchy, a piece of cheesecake. It could be that popcorn when you go to the cinema. And again, all of these have a purpose. For me, I really like a good hot chocolate before I go to bed. After I've had a meal, I just have a little bit of a sweet craving. So having a hot chocolate for me prevents potentially a binge. So therefore it has a place. I'm not one of these people to go, right, I need to be hardcore the entire time. Having some, frozen yogurt and some ice cream or some, popcorn when I go to the cinema with a Diet Coke. I go to the cinema on a weekly basis, so being able to enjoy that with my partner, friends is really important because it means I can join in on these social events which are really important to me. If I'm eating a meal out, I can go to Nando's or I can go to sushi or something like that. I can still track my food, still have an estimation of how many calories I'm ingesting, but enjoy myself, and I don't have to crack out, you know, the same meal, whether it's 100 grams of chicken and 100 grams of rice. I can actually eat amongst friends as they are, and it means that they still invite me out. So that's really, really important to me. But what I want to get across in this video is if you hear kind of, or see, if it's the first time you're coming across flexible dieting, or if it fits your macros, and you see it's just about eating pizzas or Pop-Tarts or burgers or, you know, what we would normally classify as junk food, it's really not about that. It's about having a sustainable approach where you focus on wholesome foods, and then you can have a small amount which is for those foods that fit into your lifestyle. So let's have a look at this logically. I'm on about 2,000 calories a day. Now that's not very much, but I'm at the end of my prep. Now 2,000 calories, if I was to actually look at that is, okay, so what I've said today is 80% single ingredient food, 20% is split between minimally processed foods and kind of more your fun or junk food, whatever you want to call it. 10% of my foods going on that kind of junk food or very heavily mixed ingredient food is 200 calories. Now, that is literally a highlights hot chocolate with some skimmed milk and some whipped cream, which is a lighter, low-fat whipped cream with some mini marshmallows. That is it. Then I get another 10%, which I could have some, you know, nut butters on some rice cakes, for example, if I fancy that, or it could be a protein bar. And then I've got the other 80%, which is literally coming from single ingredient foods. And I'm going to show you my lunch today, what I had, because it pretty much encompasses a big range of that. So it's lunchtime, so I thought I would share with you what I'm kind of eating today. So let's take a closer look. What do we have here? So we've got some MuscleFood chicken with, and I cooked that basically in a pesto sauce, did a batch cook pesto sauce with some asparagus, 10 to 10 broccoli, a little bit extra basil, and then I kind of put that on a just whole wheat spaghetti, and then put that on with one of those little mixed salads that you get, topped with a little bit extra pesto, salt and pepper, a little bit of chili seasoning, and that is going to go down lovely. Now, the other thing is, a lot of people kind of have when they have a high day or a refeed day, they again use this as an excuse just to eat junk food, and it's not about that. Just because your calories have gone up just means you can have a little more wiggle room. Now, if you're looking for great satiety on your diet, you want to be able to fuel your performance. So really make sure you have the same food choices as a low day, you just get to eat more of it. So instead of, for example, you know, a hot chocolate in a small bag of popcorn, I could have a hot chocolate in a bigger bag of popcorn when I go to the cinema. It could be as simple as that. Rather than having a couple of scoops of frozen yogurt on a smoothie bowl, I might be able to eat half a tub of frozen yogurt, and I could top that with, you know, some calorie-free sauces or something like that. And therefore we're getting a really good approach, but just maximizing on what you have, and that's your really important part. I'm not sat there thinking, great, it's a high day, I get an extra 1,000 calories, so I'm just going to spend that extra on, for example, Chinese takeaway or a kebab. No, it's about increasing the volume of my regular meals. I just hope that you kind of get an appreciation from me being honest about what this kind of diet is, and I think it is truly one of the best out there, and I've tried them all. Now, I've been dieting now for 24 weeks in a calorie deficit. I am hungry a lot of the time. I'm a little bit more irritable, a little bit less patient, but generally I'm feeling really, really good. And of course I have my low days. Of course I'm there some days and I'm like, oh God, do I really want to do cardio? No, I don't. But I do it, and I'm able to have enough energy to do it, to not miss sessions, to make sure I'm recovering, to make sure I'm not irritable with my friends and my family and my loved ones, because they're really important to me. It allows me to do all the things I kind of want to do, maybe to a slightly restrained approach. Like, I wouldn't be able to go out drinking, you know, and have 10 pints. I'm not a particularly big drinker myself, but I could incorporate, let's say, a glass here or there. If it's a case of, yeah, going to Nando's, I might not be able to order a big platter to myself, but I can still go have a butterfly chicken, some rice, some coleslaw, some corn on the cob, and a bit of frozen yogurt. So it's just about making better choices within your requirements. It's a little bit like if you just had a smaller funding budget. So I'm going to take you through my day. Today is a leg day. I'm also doing a podcast today, and I'm going to give you a little bit behind the scenes around that. I'm going to show you my lunch, and then we'll kind of call that a wrap. But again, I hope you enjoy this one. So remember, the most important things is a sustainable diet and a calorie deficit. MuscleBox Radio, episode 13, I believe now, Mike. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very, very well, mate. Very well. And today we are very lucky to be joined by Richard Hooley.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Mike.
Nice.
Morning.
So we thought it'd be great to get Rich on the show, as not only is he also 4 weeks out now from his next competition, but Richard is a two-time world champion, Masters over 60 champion. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And that is with the DFAC.
Yeah, which is the Drug-Free Athletes Coalition. So I'm a natural bodybuilder, water compliant natural bodybuilder, yeah.
Nice. So if we just start off with, like who is, just for the listeners' benefit really, kind of, if you had to give a synopsis of, yourself, kind of what you get up to, what's your job, all that sort of stuff, then, who is Richard Hooley?
Okay, well, it's a long story because it goes back quite a long way, but in a nutshell, for my job, I'm an academic at the University of Bath, so I'm an associate professor of biology at the University of Bath. I've done sport all of my life, so I've always been doing competitive athletics. As a kid, I was a rock climber in the early stages of my life. I've been a surfer and kite surfer pretty much for as long as I can remember. In my 30s, 40s and 50s, I was a fell runner and adventure racer, and I took up bodybuilding in 2010 and competed in my first bodybuilding contest in 2011.
So that was my interview with Richard Hooley, and if you want to check that on the podcast, you just need to search MuscleBox Radio on iTunes, and that'll be out every Friday. So my first exercise, some lying hamstring curls, and I really focus on squishing my glute straight into the pad, and then what I can do is tense my quads and then pull through the hamstrings and just really feel out in the back of the legs. And then I'm on to my squats. So this was my first working set, and I'm just going for reps of 8 to 12. Really focusing for me at the moment is just keeping my legs out at all times, really pushing my knees out and driving through my glutes, keeping my chest elevated the whole time and really pushing through the floor. So my next set, again, just from a slightly different angle, slightly faster tempo for these, as I was literally really struggling, so I just wanted to get them kind of done and out. And I was experimenting with some breathing patterns. As you can see, I really try and suck all the air in and then explode out of the bottom to get back up. And as you can see, these weights are getting pretty tiring at this level for the deficit. And then onto some leg extensions, striations, vascularity really starting to come through now. So really, really pleased with that, and just really focusing on that mind-muscle connection and getting that engagement. Seated hamstring curl, again, another really good exercise that I enjoy, and I focus on leaning my body forward just to really feel the stretch in the back of my hamstrings before I pull it right in. And then to finish off with some simple calves, some seated raises, in which I then again force my weight down onto the pad to add a bit more resistance, and then as I start to cramp, I just drop the load slightly just to continue through that volume. Hope you enjoyed that, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.